Hello friends, thanks for joining me today. This video is all about a brand that I feel like, generally speaking, goes under the radar in the beauty community. Not a lot of people are talking about hard candy. By the way, do you remember when hard candy was more of like a high-end brand? Like we're talking way back. Like I'm thinking in the 90s, I remember seeing it in magazines and thinking, oh, that looks cute, like nail polishes with little rings on them and stuff like that. Well, over time, I'm thinking mid-2000s, it came into Walmart, and that was a really big deal. A lot of people were talking about it. And as time has gone on, this brand has really hung on. And I'll admit, what first comes to mind sometimes when I think about this brand is like glitzy stuff, glitter, maybe some gimmicky kinds of items. Like I'm not always making the best associations in my mind with hard candy, but I've really tried to put a focus on this brand just personally here in the last couple weeks, accumulating some new products, trying some of their brand new stuff, also re-familiarizing myself with some of the older things that they've had in their line for quite some time. And I've got to say, there are a lot of legitimately good products in this line. Things that would become everyday standbys for a person, you know? Not just a cute gimmick that has really fun packaging or something. Oh, this is fun. That's cute. But in today's video, I just really want to dive into all of it. I am going to do a near full face of hard candy today, and we're just going to talk about each thing, what it brings to the table. And guys, there are some new products you will not want to miss, like some really impressive, fun stuff. And it's a brand that's generally gonna run. Let me pull it up. A lot of things are priced at around $6 to $7. Larger palettes that are closer to $10. But I would say as a whole, we can say $10 or less. And as I've said many times, there are a lot of drugstore brands who can't keep it at $10 these days. Lots to get to. Let's dig in. I feel like my last video was kind of the appetizer to this because we did talk about the Sheer Envy Hydrating Primer with the 12-hour makeup grip. This is kind of like hard candy's take on the Milk Hydro Grip Primer, but unlike the Milk and the e.l.f. ones, this is so much less sticky, and it still does the work, but it glides across the skin with ease. So I think this is a phenomenal product. Whenever I use it, I know I'm going to have good staying power for my overall complexion look. It's so easy to put on. And by the way, if you take it over your eyebrows, like I woke up and I had one eyebrow wanting to be completely unruly today. I must have just slept on it. Like, it'll smooth out your eyebrows beautifully too. But it adds a little hydration. So it's just a great first step, I think, for darn near anyone. And it's going to run you like $6 and change. I feel like hard candy has put a lot into priming and prep, a variety of different primers, lots of different setting sprays. I mean, this happens to be a favorite, but it's kind of making me want to branch out and try some more kinds too. Now for coverage products, their Glamouflage line has been around for what seems like quite a while. And I remember trying it originally thinking this is some of the fullest coverage stuff in the drugstore. And I got some more recently, and you know, blending it out with the sponge, I thought it seems like more of a medium coverage to me. But I think it can verge on full coverage with our application method. So we're going to do that today. It's Glamouflage Full Coverage Foundation. They say oil-free plus vitamin E, wears for hours. I have this in the shade Natural. And then the concealer, I wanted the shade Light, but they did a replacement for me in my order and gave me Fair. So Fair's going to be a little light, but I know it can be worked with. We'll make it go. I'm actually going to bring in an oldie but a goodie brush to buff this in. This is my Sigma F80. I happen to have a gold one. We have a nice little buckfoot applicator we can use to put this on, swipe it all over the skin. I tend to not have to go back for any more. I just sort of swipe off whatever came out on that doe foot applicator. Then we're going to kind of test this brush method out. Yep, I see why I thought in the past that this was full. Applying it with a brush, and this shade is a little deep for me. Yep, but we make it all work, gang. We always do. A dense buffing brush really gets more out of this than just a sponge, and that's kind of the way it is across the board with foundations. It still looks great with a sponge, I will say. It just zaps it of a little bit of the coverage. And frankly, if your shade is a little off, I think the sponge helps that. But truly, it is a beautiful foundation, and I sometimes forget about it when I'm talking about the drugstore's full coverage stuff or the drugstore's really great price range items. This really needs to be back on mine and everyone else's radar far because the coverage is great. Putting it over that primer, I don't know if you're seeing, but we do have, you know, a little hydration and glow. Even though this says like oil-free full coverage, it is not overly drying at all. So I really, really appreciate that foundation. Next, we're gonna come into the concealer. It's from the same range, full coverage concealer. It says plus licorice root. That's like a skin brightening ingredient. And again, we have the shade Fair here. We're working with what we were able to get. I'm gonna kind of apply it in the amount I would do an e.l.f. Camo concealer so you can see really what it can do. And we're going all around all the places we would conceal. And sometimes we work with a pretty brightening concealer, so this isn't wild and crazy. But I'm gonna take my e.l.f. Duo brush because I love having that smaller end, especially in times like this, to spread that product out. And we can really work it down the side of the nose, get that whole surface area. By the way, if you watch my videos consistently, you may remember me saying we had cheerleading over the weekend. It went amazingly well. We had a super fun time in Paducah, Kentucky. If you told me back in high school I was going to have kids who were going to be in cheerleading competitions in Kentucky, you know, one of the cheerleading hotbeds of the United States, I'd be like, what? They did great. I am so proud. It's cool to have first place banners and medals and everything, but I'm really proud of the way they persevere, work hard, are learning what it means to be a good teammate, just the life skills. I mean, being coached, you know, and having such genuine good people in their corner in terms of coaches. Love it. Love it. And now look, our concealer's blended in, and that's not so bad, right? I mean, it also was kind of equalizing what's going on here because the foundation was a little bit on the deep side, but concealer's nice and light. It's brightening. It's full coverage. I mean, this is a one-step process here, y'all, and it did a really good job. Do I feel overly dried? No, I can still feel moisture there. Now, I prepped my skin really well before all this, but I feel super duper good about the way things look right now. This is as full coverage as anything. Yay for that. Glamouflage is a hit. In the category of newer to me, this Stay and Slay translucent setting powder. It says helps to reduce transfer of makeup. Same could probably be said for a lot of different powders of this type. You're gonna set that cream or liquid makeup and it's gonna wear better if you do this. So it's got, I would say, a feel that goes somewhere between the really creamy powder foundations and like a Rimmel Stay Matte. It's got a little more smoothness than Rimmel Stay Matte and perhaps a little more coverage on the skin actually, because just a bit more will come off on your brush or your puff. I'm going to use one of my triangle puffs here. Get a little bit on. I did this the other day and I was like, oh, wow. Really impressed with the way this sets the under eye. Adds to the look of flawlessness, evenness, perfected but not too heavy. Put this all over the T-zone. We may have a little excess to dust away on the one side, but I mean, you are setting yourself up for long wear if you do it this way. This is a great little powder. It does not dull you down. You could apply it with a brush. These sponges give you a really targeted application with it. They also say it's infused with salicylic acid and niacinamide. It's a really good middle ground product to be a setting powder, you know what I mean? I really don't think it's gonna send you overboard with like too much coverage and too much cakiness for what you're wanting it to be. Perfect tone for a translucent powder. I see myself coming back to this a lot. I told you guys we got a lot of big things going on. Here is a really fun find. The Face Off line products. We have the Face Off Bronze in the shade Chocolate Drip, and we have the Face Off Blush in Born Yesterday. These are stunning. Really, really fun too. We have a doe foot applicator, liquid product, liquid bronzer, and I'm just gonna dab it on, and it's gonna look a little dark and scary, but just trust me, gang. It works. A few little dots here. You can do a little more. Take a dense little buffing brush like a Sephora 56, circular motions. But Em, you just powdered. Yeah, I did. It's okay. I didn't powder heavily all over the face, number one. But number two, this stuff makes an impact. It does have a little bit of glow, so be aware of that. Easily blendable, even as it takes a moment to sit there. We have no issue blending it in, but it's got some depth, this chocolate chip shade. I think comes in a few shades. And I couldn't really tell what I was gonna get out of it when purchasing, but it's legit. I wouldn't say that this has shimmer in it, but maybe just a little bit of a natural kind of satin type vibe. And then Hard Candy has a great powder bronzer. I've talked about this one before, the Instant Summer. This is the mango and cocoa butter infused bronzer. I wear this in tan, and this falls somewhere in the middle of their intensities. So it's infused with the butters, maybe making you think butter bronzer. And I saw people on last week's video saying, I wish they'd put that out and not put any of the scent in. Well, this is totally unscented, and the packaging is a lot more compact. So you might check this out. This is very soft. Put your brush in lightly and tap off the excess because they made that a very soft powder. It's gonna be a few more dollars than Rimmel Natural Bronze, which is probably still kind of my front runner from the drugstore for that reason. I think it works great, but I think this range might go a little darker, which may benefit more people actually. So just a line to look to that's gonna be less expensive than your L'Oreal's, you know. Quality pigmented bronzer. Yes, I didn't even need to use this today, but I'm just kind of demonstrating. I'm actually sort of softening up the bronzer that was already applied there today. And maybe feeling a bit more free to just like take this all over like a bronzer now that there's very little on my brush, you know, letting that blend over top of the cheeks, letting it blend over the eyes, over the nose. I mean, are we 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 for 6 on things working out here? Yes, we are. If there was any doubt about the complexion products available from Hard Candy, like they are slaying it. Some of this stuff, Glamouflage, has been around for a long, long time. Some of these other things are newer, but they are great. Now, I love this blush. This definitely has some shimmer in it. Whereas I feel like the bronzer, I mean, I want to take a really up close look at it. It's got pretty much just a hint of a satin finish. Looks really natural on the skin blended out. This one's giving kind of a Charlotte Tilbury blush wand vibe, except in a really fun color. Like a lot of fresh baby pink here with this one. And it has some glow. It's beautiful. I love this so much. Just gonna press it in. I'm using, again, a Sephora 56, kind of a pressing, dabbing motion. Look at that, like pigment plus glow. Did I apply a little bit more than I needed to? Probably, but it's just such a fun product. Gorgeous. If you've been wanting to try a liquid blush that has some glow in it, definitely check this out. The next time I am in Walmart, I am for sure going to be scoping out what other shades there are. Actually, I had selected a different color and they replaced it with this, and I'm so glad they did actually, because this shade is stunning. That baby pink. I am over the moon with this. Then y'all, for highlighters, here's a product that I like. I'm impressed that they have it, but maybe I'm a little less enthused than everything else I've just put on. They have these face-off highlighters, and this was another part of my delivery order last week where I got a message that this one was out of stock and they wanted to replace it with this one. But then when all was said and done, I opened my bag and I ended up getting both. So thank you, Walmart. This one is called Rich Rich, and it looks like kind of just a light pearlescent highlight. And can you see there's a little heart in the middle, and there's a little brush on the other end. I would say more usable than a lot of attached brushes because it has a little more mobility. So often they put these small brushes on the ends of products and you don't have so much use for it because it's just so stiff, but these can be used. Both of these highlights turn out to be a bit more, oops, I had bronzer on that finger. That's a bad representation. Both of these end up being a bit more transparent than you're going to expect. So not a lot of opaque shimmer and more of like a dewiness, if that makes sense. This other one that I got is 24 karat rose. This is the one I didn't ask for, but they made it seem like it was the replacement. There's a look at both of them on my fingers. Can you tell that there's kind of a transparent, dewy quality mixed with some shimmeriness on those? Here's what I'm gonna do first. I'm gonna take this one. This is the 24 karat rose. Get a little bit on my finger, and I'm gonna dab it directly over the apple of the cheek. I was playing with this the other night, and I was like, oh, that's pretty. See how it gives an even more, you know, I know we had a dewy cheek to start with that blush, but it gives an even more luminous effect. But you're not overloaded with shimmer. You're seeing more of a dewy vibe, okay? It's cute, but with this one, my lightest one, I see even more of like an actual little shimmer trail. So dewy, yes. If you were looking up really close at my skin, you would see a little bit of sparkle coming out of that. It's a little bit brightening. Depending on what your highlighter preferences are, it might be something worth investigating. Again, brushes do work, but I find myself wanting to be so gentle with my skin at this point, actually, seeing as I've layered on blushes and bronzers and concealers, and I'm not wanting to change the effect too much. Looking up really, really closely, you might be able to see some ultra fine sparkle that's embedded in an overall kind of sheer dewy highlight. All in all, more dewy than shimmery. So if that's something you've been on the lookout for, you might be into these different highlights. But yeah, what do we think about this face now? I've got a setting spray still to use. Now, I couldn't get my hands on the one that I had loved for years, the Sheer Envy Hydrating, and I think they called it a primer mist. But what I do have is the Sheer Envy Long Wear Setting Spray, 12-hour wear plus hydration and cucumber extract. And this one's reminding me a lot of Urban Decay All Nighter, actually, and the mist is phenomenal. Fine mist. It will immediately take away the powdery look of your makeup, which we were already looking a little bit dewy anyway, but I think it has a great effect on the overall staying power of the makeup. So I'm enjoying this as well. I'm going to be using it a lot more. And if you feel like you're a little too dewy, just take your powder puff, nothing even on it, go back over areas. I mean, it's still got something in it a little bit because it was used in powder. This is great skin with some of the cheaper products in the drugstore. Now for brows, I don't have a hard candy brow pencil. I have a really neat little gel though. It's called Teddy Brow Fiber Brow Gel. You'll want to see this, but I am going to go in and fill in with just another brow pencil that I have. I know Hard Candy does have brow pencils, and I think it was a situation where I thought I already had something that I didn't actually have. I'm going to use this e.l.f. Ultra Precise Brow Pencil in Cool Brown just to get a little initial fill in, and then I'll show you that gel. I can't get over how fun those liquid blushes are. Like the liquid blush and bronzer, that chocolate chip shade of the bronzer was pretty darn intense, but yet it wasn't hard to blend and it wasn't sticking to my skin. You smell good.
Smells good.
Thank you. Thank you for the cat delivery. We needed a fill-in for the fill-in, so thank you, e.l.f. for that. And this is the Teddy Brow. Again, my box says brunette, and then the bottom sticker here says light. That's kind of odd. I mean, this is definitely a brunette type color. And it says Fiber Brow Gel Waterproof. So this looks exactly like Benefit Gimme Brow right there, okay? And it really has some color, and it has some hold that, dare I say, rivals the Maybelline Brow Fast Sculpt. They are standing at attention immediately. I'm not one who really loves sticking my brow hairs straight up in the sky, but if you want to do that, they would stay for you. I just kind of fluff them. You may not need any fluffing at all because it's looking large and in charge today. Like, it just adds. It adds a lot. I feel like it could probably do the job on its own because there's so much pigmented creamy color on there. And the brush is very easy to control. It's super tiny, just like Benefit Gimme Brow. And here's a real indicator of how much it's holding. After you do it, if you try to take a spoolie to your brows and kind of like test it, like how hard are you holding? Your spoolie will have trouble going through because it really gave you some hold there. Questions, comments, concerns? We are going to prime with Milani Eyeshadow Primer. I'll admit I maybe don't investigate eyeshadow primers from other brands as much as I should because I just know I got such a good thing here. This may be the one part of makeup where it's like I've actually found the best and I'm willing to rest on that. No, I will keep testing things. It is so windy out there and I got a rain alert. I think it's gonna storm. Hard Candy Eyeshadow. Here's where the brand takes a bit of a hit and miss turn for me. Not everything I've tried has been amazing. I did not so long ago, actually, a review of their little mini 4-color palettes. There's some goodness in this line. My favorite one is the one called Purr, and it's this kind of like taupey plum option. And I'm pretty sure this was the featured like tutorial in that review of a bunch of these different quads. Some of those are good. They have some palettes called Top 10 palettes. It's maybe not your like best pigmentation in the drugstore. We've got this Greek Tragedy one, which I think I only talked about it on Instagram. This is one of their newer ones too. It says Hard Candy Marquee presents Greek Tragedy, 15 multi-dimensional shades, matte satin shimmer glitter. Now I played with some of the glitter last night actually on top of glitter glue. It held pretty well. I did one of these glitters and I was like, you know, if you're in a glittery kind of mood. This seems to have a little bit more consistent pigmentation throughout these shadows than I've seen in some of their palettes that are like long and skinny and say top 10. But if you are looking for a small option, the Purr palette is really good. And I've also liked this one called Bear. It's a nice basic. It has like a little bronzy shimmer, but probably makes even more sense to me than e.l.f.'s Cream and Sugar Quad, okay? Did I take a picture of the glitteriness that was on my lids last night? I hope I did. Camera looks blurry as though I'm in a sauna or something, but I'll pop this up full screen for you. It looked really good. What I did was I had a finished eye look, and then I just dabbed some Too Faced glitter glue, or if you have, you know, glitter glue from another more affordable brand that you can use. Uh-oh, severe weather alert. Blah. Pat that glitter glue like on the part of your lid you want the glitter. So I did inner part, and then I just went on with my finger with that middle glitter, and it is a pure glitter. They've put a little bit of a base in here to make it like cling into the palette, but it's just straight up glitter. It's not like glitter mixed with eyeshadow. So it took a few pats over top to get that level of opacity, but it's pretty, and you know, that might be a fun option if somebody wants to have a glitter, but also more than that wants an overall neutral eyeshadow palette. But they have a few different tones of these palettes, a few different color stories. I'm gonna take this matte shade called Ceramic over here. I feel like I should check that weather alert, but I got a kitten. I got a kitten that's like stuck in the empty spin. Just a second. This is not the place for you. Knocking down power cords, howling wind. They do get stressed out when they hear wind. Okay, we already have a wind advisory. Strong thunderstorms, wind gusts up to 50 miles an hour, radar indicated. It's on the move. They haven't put a warning on it, they just put out a special weather statement. Okay, so again, we're working with that shade. We love a little added drama for the videos, don't we? This is that color called Ceramic. We're using the Persona double-ended brush. It's got some big time fluff there, and it's just letting us take that shade wherever it wants to go, you know? I really am encouraged to cover more surface area in my eye zone here when I use this brush. So now, I mean, I haven't even added anything to the brush. I'm just letting it ride, letting it blend. Let's add a little bit of this shade. Look at this color called Smolder. Now, these shades, if you're curious, how are they swatching? Much more consistent intensity than I've seen in a lot of like older hard candy stuff. It can go there. I like the addition of that mint green, by the way. I thought let's take a little bit of this one. It's like kind of coral, really pretty. Add a little bit of that to the outer crease just for the heck of it. I know, it's just the wind, baby doll. Really buffed the heck out of that. Now let's take something dark. I'm gonna use Muse right here. It's brown, flat side of the brush. So I've got to tell you about our low point of the cheer day. So cheerleading competition went amazingly well. Mom and Dad were there. Bubba, you know, he'd gotten up so early. He was just in kind of like a woozy state. He wasn't like jumping off the walls. He wasn't clamoring for constant snacks. He was just like chilling on Nana's lap most of the time, and almost seemed like he was about to fall asleep a few times. Literally no issues at the place. And the competition was very efficient. Like our girls awards, since they're on like these tiny little young squads, their awards were earlier, and so we decide afterward, let's go get some lunch. Oh my gosh, Paducah has an Olive Garden. You know, we don't have an Olive Garden up here, and I do love some Olive Garden at times. So we get there, we immediately realize Bub's bag, the bag that was his responsibility, not throwing Bub under the bus, but I mean, just to tell you, like, I had a backpack, each girl had a backpack, and Bub was in charge of the Bubba backpack that would have anything he would need for the morning. And we pull into Olive Garden and realize that has been left. And so Bub's like, okay, I'll drop you guys off. You can get your table, and then I'll run back, and you know, probably by the time you're seated or whatever, I'll be back. It took him a little while to get like reparked at the venue, get the stuff, and in that amount of time we did eventually get seated, me and the 3 kids. And during our wait, which who could blame him, he's starting to squirm, he's starting to, you know, indicate that he needs some food soon or some milk soon. I'm just building up that same color, starting to rain. We place our drink order, and now he's starting to like cry, like a kind of a whiny cry, something where I'm like, okay, I think I can still manage this. The girls are sitting there like little angels, just like waiting to eat something. They're starving, but he's in moan and groan mode. I mean, we're talking got up early, didn't eat lunch, about to miss a nap. And as I'm trying to like maybe entertain him with a blippy video on my phone, or just, you know, do whatever I can do. All I have is like my tiny purse that I came in with, because, you know, my whole bag's in the van. And he starts full on wailing. Like, I'm not gonna be able to recover from this in this environment. Wailing. I've got people turning around, like looking at me like I'm feeling so bad, and so like, you want to talk about anxiety. I'm trying to calm him down, but at the same time, I know like I am not gonna disrupt the whole restaurant with this. But he just like, he was saying things like, I want to go home. He was just saying loudly, I want McDonald's, like all kinds of things. Only people in our immediate area could hear those things at first, but now we've got a full-on wail going. Anybody probably anywhere in the restaurant could hear. So I'm like, I've got to take him outside. But I also got to take these girls because there's no other grown-up here to be with them. So I tell the people at the front, I'm like, we probably got to just jump ship. I'm so sorry. You know, and they're like, oh, that's fine. You know, whatever. I'd only ordered drinks, and they're like, it's cool. Just go ahead and go. Get the heck out of here. And so we sit on a bench outside of Olive Garden, and fortunately he stops wailing shortly after that. But I'm like, bub, we just got to go somewhere quicker. We got to just get these kids fed quick. So I was in and out of an Olive Garden. I'd never really had to do that before, because if you had another grown-up on hand, you could have just taken him outside. You know, you could have just gotten him calmed down and then come back in. But we ended up at this local pizza buffet place, and it was outstanding. Bub knew about it from going there prior, and I've been working with the same shade, not telling y'all what I'm doing. I've just blended the heck out of Muse into my crease and everything. But we went to this little pizza buffet he knew about, and it was so good. So good. So many options. Lots of different things for the kids. Girls love salads. They were like gaga over the salad bar, and it was wonderful. And I'm like, yeah, I'm glad I ended up here in the end. I love moments like that, because then I start singing to Bub, sometimes I thank God for unanswered prayers. It's really not that big a deal, but anybody who's had a kid losing their mind in a restaurant knows it makes you like feel kind of sick to your stomach, like what am I gonna do? But Bub did find the backpack. That's the good news. Found the backpack. It was sitting right under our seats. As we were getting up, we had amazing seats in kind of like a front row area, and as we were getting up, there were people like waiting to sit down. So I probably didn't scope out like, did we leave anything? Didn't really look enough, because the moment I was out, they were in. Cheer competitions, man. Cutthroat. Okay, I'm gonna use this Damsel in Distress shade. It's pretty. It's this one right here. Like at a glance you think, oh, that's just like rose gold, but it actually has a little bit more shiftiness. It has a little bit of a pink shift in it. I'm not sure if that'll show fully on the eyes. May or may not, but we'll pat it on anyway. All over that lid. Cute. I'm doing kind of like this little basic warm eye, but this could go in a more yellowy direction. It's got two really pretty olive shades right here. And then I'm going to take Roman Candle. This color's really brightening. And we're going to take a little bit of that right in here. Like it's a touch of green, I'd say. Touch of mint in that. And I kind of feel like snowflakes are falling down. I want to press that on because it's not giving near the intensity it has. That's the thing. Sometimes with the apply side of this brush, you got to remember it's still a little bit fluffy. So you might want to still have a truly flat brush or a finger handy. Oh, you know, I'll get my finger out. Have a finger handy. What am I saying? Anyway, just press it in a little bit. I don't even have a hard candy eyeliner. We're just going to keep rolling with this. I'm going to take more of Muse. Kind of like my little MVP shade here. Let it roll underneath. Pretty. Oh, I also don't have a mascara from Hard Candy. No. We're just going to use L'Oreal Lash Paradise. That's okay. We still have some lip products you're going to want to see. And I like the eyeshadow. Like, that worked totally fine. I would try even other little palettes that they make like this. And like I said, there's a couple of little stud 4-pan palettes. I do have a little shimmery fallout. Oh, you know what I realized picks up glitter fallout amazingly well, by the way? I learned this yesterday. Little cotton rounds. I'm sure a cotton ball would do it too, but that's like a magnet for the glitter. That was great for me yesterday. And the stuff that adhered to the glitter glue stayed actually pretty well. What you have to know is don't go too far packing on, because eventually that glitter's not sticking to anything. But I feel, to me, the most outstanding things, the things that leave my jaw on the floor from Hard Candy, are all the really good complexion products in pretty much every category. The primer was great, foundation, concealer, I mean the full coverage nature of it all. That little setting powder was so good. Then into our color products. Now they need to still be, I don't think they're making the baked stuff. Remember when they're baked blushes and bronzers? That era was so good for Hard Candy. But these liquids, you know, that's a hot thing right now, and those were so pretty. I was just so excited to show you guys that. Setting sprays. Highlighters, if you're into a dewy, and does my skin feel a little bit, it doesn't really feel that tacky even after using that. Obviously I need to investigate more of what they have mascara wise and eyeliner wise. They got a good solid tinted brow gel. Well, actually really creamy brow gel. Wind's really kicking up now, but I still don't have a severe thunderstorm warning, so we're gonna make it. This eye is really pretty. Actually, that fade of the lightest color into the sort of peachy coppery shimmer, really nice. Obviously, I want to know in the comments section what things from Hard Candy you really love, and what I really want to hear in the comments section is your horror stories of kids in restaurants. I've never had that happen with him. I mean, he just was in rare form. And I know we were asking a lot. I probably should have had the awareness to think, like, as much as you want Olive Garden right now, a sit-down restaurant is probably not the best idea. Pizza buffet was a very good compromise, though. Cali Ray come hell or high water, just gotta hit those lowers. Oh, or I could have used my Revolution, or the Relove. Stuff is so good. Here's where your pointed tip Q-tips have their shining moment. I have a little clump right in there. For lips, these are really fun. These little chonky guys here, these plumping serum lip balms with shea butter, avocado oil, and mango seed butter. Remember the plumping serum lipsticks? I think I wore one of those when I gave birth to Belle. It lasted a really long time. I remember stuff like that. But I have Bountiful Bear and Richly Rose, so we're gonna pop each of these on for you. Here's the Bountiful Bear. I just love the size. So real lip balmy vibes, and then it gives you a little tingle. Makes you think, there's something happening there? Something getting plumped? Bountiful Bear just gives you that slight color. Okay, not a lot to that one color-wise. That may or may not be what you're after, but that's what I'm here to show you. Okay, take that off. Let's show you Richly Rose. That's what I'm talking about. And again, you will feel a little tingle. Is it gonna balloon your lips up immediately? Like, not really, but I do think it's doing something. I think that shade is gorgeous. Okay, look at that. So pretty, so balmy. The size makes me think of like a jumbo lip smacker, but for grown-ups. So we'll probably come back to one of those, but I also have this lip liner. This is new to me, and I keep finding these lip liners with brushes on the other end, which I love. I love that. This is the Instapout lip liner, and the shade is called Kiss and Tell. And it kind of reminds me of like Milani's Cinnamon Statement a little bit, the way this color is. I'll go ahead and put it on. Glides on easily. I haven't really gotten a good staying power test of this. You know how I think Revlon Color Stay lip liners outlast most things. So you can kind of roughly get it on. See, isn't this a nice shade? This would be so nice with different nude lips. Then you can use that brush and really work it around. I am loving attached brushes. Buxom does it, Estee Lauder does it, and in the drugstore, Hard Candy's doing it. I know for sure this is in maybe a couple of other nudie shades and then some more intense colors as well, but isn't that pretty? And then we could take our Richly Rose, or our Bountiful Bear for that matter, just kind of add a little rosiness. Pretty lip. Love that. Now I always like to go in with a little setting powder as like a finishing touch. See if this can pretend to be Kosas Cloud Set. I love this little powder. honestly, very effective. Maybe not quite as sneaky as Cloud Set, but it's a decent little drugstore pressed setting powder. So guys, there's a reason I had to hop on here, get on this video today. It feels like we just rolled on in a little more specific way with the underrated stuff at the drugstore, but hard candy, you need to be looking into it. You need to get a hard candy primer. You might entertain the thought of some Glamouflage products if you like that full coverage. Stay and Slay powder, very good. Liquid contour or blush, check these out, especially this Born Yesterday. What a great name for that, because it is just that youthful, cool pink blush. Setting sprays, they've got a variety of them. Highlighters weren't my absolute favorite thing, but if you like kind of a dewy, glossy highlight, that's what those are. These balms, fun, a little bit tingly at first. Excellent creamy brow gel, high marks there. A little more spotty with what I've tried from the little monochrome quads, but I love Purr and I love the Bare one. Legitimately good powder bronzer also. And this palette, what do I have to complain about with this look? Nothing. Oh, and the lip liners with attached brushes. Don't forget about that. I am incredibly impressed. Thank you all for your time today. I hope you enjoyed this video. Again, I want to know two things in the comments section: restaurant horror stories and also your favorite hard candy products. Thanks for watching, everyone. I love you. I'll see you soon. Bye.